Welcome to the Landscaping Podcast. My name is Joel Barnett and I'm your host. And in today's episode, I'm talking with Jayden Weatherley from Greener Visions Landscapes. Greener Visions are landscape builders based in Melbourne. And I would say without a doubt, they're one of the top landscape construction companies in Australia. They work for some of the top designers in the country and also do an amazing job of building those designs. So it was pretty exciting to have Jayden on, especially for a landscape builder like myself. So I absolutely love the chat. In the chat, he talks about the pros and cons of using subcontractors. He's helped build gardens at the Melbourne International Flower and Garden Show, as well as the Chelsea Flower Show. So that was when he was working for Ian Barker. So it speaks about his time there and how good it is, how everyone needs to play their role as part of a team, which is the way to do it successfully. When I ask about if there's any apps that they use at Greener Visions, Jayden mentioned that they use Build Exact for doing their quoting, and and he explains a little bit of it, and it sounded like a great program. So it's something that got my mind thinking about whether that's something I could use to improve my business. And towards the end, we talk about what the plans are for the future for Greener Visions and touch on the fact that it's not necessary to always be building the business, so sometimes it's good to maintain it. So hopefully you enjoy this chat as much as I did with Jayden Weatherley. Jayden, thank you very much for joining us on the Landscaping Podcast. My first question for you is, how did you start in the industry?
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for having me. Yeah, I started way back when I was 18 years old. I got into, well, before that, really, if you want to go right back, I started a carpentry apprenticeship. Yeah, didn't mind it. Wasn't too bad, but it just, we were working like 7 till 7 every day out in Melton. And as a 17-year-old, I was catching trains and getting picked up, 4:30, 5 o'clock start, and then massive days, getting yelled at. Those were old school days where bosses would just be, at you all day sort of thing. So it did scare me off a bit in the trade industry. And I thought, I always did have a bit of a passion for, working with plants and being outside. So got into landscaping, started a Parks and Gardens apprenticeship first, and did that with a company called Blue Ribbon Gardenscapes. John Matthews is a great guy, which was good, but it was a lot more, sort of maintenance sort of side of things, a lot of mowing lawns and hedges and that, and some small landscaping projects. And I knew that I wanted to get into more of the construction side. So a couple of years in, I saw a job pop up with Ian Barker Gardens, and went in there and got the job. So did my apprenticeship with Ian Barker Gardens, and then sort of started building on the career from there. I think I worked with him for 5 years, and then got into some subcontracting work. Sort of fluffed around for about a year, just subbing for various guys, and then a good friend of mine, Daniel Henderson, my business partner, he's played at the footy club with me, and after a few beers one night, we were getting pretty rowdy, and just decided that why don't we sort of start our own thing. We had heaps of cashies lined up, like as you normally do. You start off with the family and friends, and had all that lined up, and and then we just sort of pulled the trigger and sat down in my lounge room one day and said, well, let's call it Greener Visions, and then it just sort of went from there. So that was Greener Visions officially started back in 2011.
Did it take you long to come up with the name?
It didn't. So it's funny. When I was working with Ian, we did a big rooftop garden in the city, and Jamie Jury designed it, and we just built it through with Ian Barker. There was a write-up in the paper about it. I saw, like, the headline was Jamie's Greener Visions. I just sort of really liked that sort of phrase, and it wasn't really, it wasn't anyone's name or anything. So it just always stuck with me. I just thought Greener Visions would be a great name for a company, and that's sort of where it stemmed from. So
it is. Yeah, it's a good name. So it's that's a good way of starting it. But with the Parks and Gardens, did that give you an appreciation for horticulture? Like, did you learn a lot about it?
It did. I did learn a little bit about it, but I was still, I still was very fresh. But it was very, back then, it was very maintenance driven. Like, it was just, we were, mowing lawns and hedging and that. A little bit of plant knowledge and plant pest and disease knowledge came from it, but probably wasn't in it for long enough. Like, it was just like, it was that and entry level landscaping. We're doing pass and small brick block work, and just a real sort of basic sort of stuff, paving on sand and things like that. So I just got, yeah, it was a good entry level for a broad range, but I knew I wanted to get into more of the heavier construction side of things.
And had you heard of Ian Barker Gardens before you applied for it? Or was that the first you'd heard of
I don't think so. I think that was probably my first time I had heard of them. They were Ian Barker and Associates back then. So I went in, and that was back when LV would post an ad up, and then you just put yourself on there as well. And I think it was Scott from Enki Pools, and it was Ian's partner back then. He gave me a call, and went in for an interview, and that was it. So away she went.
And you did an apprenticeship there as well?
Yeah. Finished my apprenticeship. Finished my apprenticeship there, and then I was there for about another 2 years after that, I think. Yeah.
And so, and when I spoke with Ian, he said you went to Chelsea with him as well.
We did, yeah. So incredible experience. Yeah, 2008 we went to Chelsea. Yeah, I only been at the company for about 18 months, I think it was. So I was still third year apprentice, I think, just in 21, I think it was. So yeah, it was amazing. It's just such a great atmosphere when everyone's there. You got 25 guys on site. You're working from 7 till 10 o'clock every night, but it's just everyone's so much banter on the site, and it's just so much fun. It's they're big days, and there's a bit of pressure there, but every night there's 10:30 you leave the site because it stays light till 10 o'clock at time of night over there. You got to walk past this pub called the Rose and Crown, I think it was, and every night we just popped in there and 4 or 5 pints or whatever it was, and you get to bed about 12:30, 1 o'clock, and then up again at 5, and then do it all again the next day. So we're pretty spent, but it's 3 weeks of solid construction, and then the show's on for about a week, and then about a week pull down. About 4 days to pull down. So
I was going to say, how long is it? But so it's 3 weeks of building.
It was about three solid weeks of building, and then a week for the show. That's when you sort of have your bit of time off. You do a bit at the show, a bit of media stuff, and that you do with the team, and then then you got to rip it all out. So it's just it's almost like a footy team. Everyone's got their roles when they're on site, and everyone's just there to do that job, and it sort of works. Well, that's how it worked with us anyway. But it went really well, and Jamie Jury was the designer of that garden, and then Ian Barker Gardens built it. So it was an incredible experience, and something that I'll cherish for the rest of my life, definitely.
So did you do that before you'd done one of the Melbourne garden shows?
I think I did. I don't think I'd done a Melbourne one before that. No, I hadn't. So no, sorry. I think maybe that year they did Mifkis as well, and I helped out with Ian's team. Helped out for a few days. wasn't anything significant, but we did a little bit that year. But that was probably my first real show garden experience. Yeah.
And how was it comparing, like after you've done, because you've done a couple of garden show builds with Ian? So what was that like compared to Chelsea? How different they are?
So building Melbourne compared to Chelsea. I mean, it's just a whole different atmosphere altogether. Like, the stakes are obviously a lot higher. You're pouring concrete and things as well, so you're allowed to chew the ground up and that. So it's a different construction methods for a lot of it as well. But look, the Melbourne shows were great for us as well. Again, it's that camaraderie and that team spirit around, which is what's really appealing. You are working big days and the stakes are high, but it really is a great experience. And I'd encourage all companies to give it a go at least once or twice to get that under your belt, just to get that feeling, get that experience. And it's the people you meet along the way, obviously, as well. You really do get to know your fellow industrymen a lot better when you're around those sorts of things. And everyone's there for the same purpose. They all want to show off their work, but it doesn't feel like it's competitive or anything when you're there. It is when it comes time for medals, but it's just it's a really great way to get to meet fellow industrymen and get to know them. So I'd highly recommend all companies starting out to give it a go.
And how was it building on the lake? Because you were involved in that one as well, weren't you?
Yeah, that was tricky. It wasn't easy. That's I still think that's the best one that we did with Ian and Hamilton Landscapes as well. That was the design for that was incredible. I don't think it had ever been done before either. It had its challenges, but like everything, you get your processes going and you work it out, and worked out really well. We we couldn't have built that garden any better, I thought. It's stiff not to get best in show, I thought, but still very happy with the gold medal. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you started with Daniel, he had a lot of landscaping experience as well.
Yeah, similar to me. Yeah, but we're the same age. So he worked for a company called DMS with Malcolm Heppel. We did some really nice stuff as well. And yeah, same thing. He did his apprenticeship through him. Was subcontracting to him for a little bit, and then just wanted to get out and spread his wings just like myself. So yeah, we played. I played footy with Daniel. I've known him since I was 13 years old or something. So yeah, we just every weekend we'd sit there and speak about work, and just said, yeah, well, let's just give it a crack, and it just went from there.
So how's it been since then? So it sounds like you're both sort of the construction side of things. Does either of you do any design at all?
Look, we haven't really. I toyed around with it, early on, but we just sort of found that niche where we would just stick to the construction only. A lot of people do go into design. My wife's a designer. She's done a few gardens for me that have sort of come from me, and she's sort of drawn them all up for me. But look, it's just something that we just never sort of ventured on with. We're happy with just that, just being construction only. We'd like to try and target, be a go-to in that area in the industry, and like a lot of people are as well. But no, we made the call a while back to stick to the construction. Yeah.
And how's it go having the two of you? Because I know a lot of partnerships work well when there's two opposing people.
Yeah.
But you two, it sounds like you might be similar in what you can do. So has that been any struggles?
No, like every partnership, it has its moments, definitely. But look, Dan's a lot more hands-on than I am. So I still do work on tools. I was on the tools today, but I do definitely take care more of the business side of things and the operations. But Dan's definitely, he's basically our overall construction manager, and he's still running a job as well, and that's by choice. He loves to build. His father's a tradesman and still likes being on site. It's just it's in his blood, and I think he'll like to stay that way for a long time. So it does sort of work well, given that he's happy to take care of that side of things, and I do take care of all the business operations. Yeah,
the amount of so do you organise all permits and all that sort of stuff as well?
Yeah. So I'm permits, majority of quoting. We do share the quoting. So Tommy is another partner as well who bought into the company about 12 months ago. So he does a little bit as well. And so, but majority, the lion's share is definitely mine. But Dan has a couple of designers where he's the main contact, so he might quote a couple up, but not a great deal. But yeah, I'm permits, quoting, schedules, and all the rest, basically.
Yeah, well, that kept you busy enough as it is.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I try to get on site 1 or 2 days a week, but I might go 4 weeks without getting on site, but then I might get a run of a few weeks on site as well. But generally on a pretty standard week, I'll be in the office probably 3 to 4 days. Yeah.
So what were the projects that you're working on like to start with compared to what they are now? Like, how did it build up to where they are now? Because I imagine the family and friends weren't there.
Well, the first 2 years or first 18 months was, as I said, it was a lot of family and friends, like no design. So it was a lot of just sort of make it up as you go, which are okay for a period of time. And then they sort of dried up a bit, and we were sort of scratching around. I remember we both ended up sort of subbing back to our. Well, I didn't go to EM, but I went to another company, and Dan subbed back to his old boss for a short period of time. I think it was a couple of months maybe. But then I sat down with Ian again and said, how can we make this work? And that's when he started feeding us some projects of his own designs that he couldn't build. So it really started, the level of builds that we were doing started to sort of progress from there. And that's when I sort of started targeting more designers myself. And then, obviously the jobs got better over time. But, there was a time there when $100,000 or $80,000 job was the scariest thing that you're going to come across. And now, not to take it for granted, but they're pretty. It's you're not getting much in your garden for 80 grand anymore, unfortunately. But yeah, so it was just a natural progression from there. Basically, once I sat down with Ian and said, look, we'd love to have a crack at building some of your gardens, and then got a couple under our belt, and then we just sort of started feeding off a few more designers from there.
So he mentioned that he'd given you a couple of the processes that he'd worked on. Is that So is there a couple of
Yeah,
things you've learnt from
there's
him?
a few in there. Yeah, yes, there's a couple of systems in that he sort of has given us, and that we've taken ourselves, but definitely not everything. But yeah, Ian's always, he's an incredible businessman. He's, super intelligent guy, and a really great person to work for and with. So try to sponge up as much as I can from him. I still do to this day. He's I think it's pretty well known that he's been a mentor of mine. I've been very lucky to have him, and to a certain extent Scott Timkin as well, to have them in my professional life. It's been an absolute blessing. So we still talk regularly about business and staff and all the issues that come with it, for sure.
How many staff do you have at the moment?
We got 10 at the moment. We had 11, one dropped off. It always fluctuates between 10 and 12. Yeah.
And
that's
you run
including Daniel and I. Yeah.
like a couple of sites at once, or three? Or?
Yeah, we run 3. Yeah. So we've got Dan runs a site, Tom runs a site, and we've got another supervisor, Jack. And there's always a couple of 2 to 3 guys under them. And then I'm a bit of a floater, like I was saying, where I'll be in the office, or I'll pinch hit where I can. So we are looking for a couple more at the moment, but as you know, it's a pretty big issue at the moment. We just can't find them.
Yeah. I put an ad out for an apprentice through Seek, and I saw the last time I did it was, I don't know, maybe a year and a half or 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And I had 40 applicants for that, and then this one it's just about finished. I've had 6.
Yeah.
Even apprentices you can't get, let alone.
Well, we're a bit top heavy at the moment. We've got a lot of qualified guys and only a couple of apprentices, and I'm trying to find them, but we just can't. Like, we had a girl that we had on board. She was great. Like, got the job, and then she was living far away. She got a job closer, so we lost her. And then had another guy, went through some personal stuff. Unfortunately, lost him. He was great as well. We just can't find him. We got the same thing. Got the ads out there and get a couple of nibbles here and there, but nothing serious. Once upon a time, like you're saying, you get 40, 50 emails from it, but they just trickle through now, and they're always, they're just tire kickers anyway. They're not nothing. There's never anyone that's actually in landscaping already, or super keen to get into it. It's a massive issue in the industry at the moment. There's just, the numbers just aren't there. There's never been more work to get through, but the getting the cattle is just near on impossible.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, there's never been more work and never been less staff.
That's right. Yeah, it's nuts, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah.
What was COVID like for you? Because you're working in Melbourne, so that was the hardest hit place for lockdown.
Yeah.
So how did that go? Did you have jobs where people weren't living that you could work on, or?
Yeah, we had it was tough. Absolutely. We had a really large project down in Mount Eliza where that was with a builder. So they got, when it was the five staff on site, they got the site all week. They did let us get down there on Saturday and Sunday, which was good. So it was a period of time where we were just working Saturday, Sunday when we could. And then other jobs, one client managed to vacate the house, which was good for a period of time, but the other one didn't. So there was, when it first hit as well, I was building my own house, so I managed to get a couple of guys going in my courtyard for a period of time. But yeah, mate, it was tough, like everyone. And we did stick to the rules as well. We played by the rules as per the government guidelines, and it was bloody tough. And we're still feeling the impacts from it now as well, like financially from the last year around September and that, when it shut down again. We're still feeling it, definitely. Like, we're all sort of playing catch up a bit at the moment, but look, hopefully that is behind us. It's now just you lose your staff for 7 days every second week at the moment. But it was hard. But look, I think our industry was hit reasonably hard, but nothing compared to hospitality and airlines and things. So a bit of silver lining, but look, let's hope that's the main part done, and we can all get on with business now and start rolling again.
And there's something that you're doing for Landscape Victoria, which you'll have done by the time this comes out. Is there's a like a talk that like a, what's it called? There's
Q&A.
4 of you sitting on a panel.
The Q&A thing.
What sort of things are you discussing there?
So got roped into it. It's not really my forte, that sort of stuff. So, but look, it's I'm happy to do it. Again, part of my development, putting yourself into scenarios like that is is very helpful. But we'll be touching on, so it's next Wednesday night, we'll be touching on mental health issues with your business owners and your staff, quoting and cost of increase of materials at the moment, and how we're quoting for that, managing contracts with that as well, where a lot of people are signing contracts now for jobs that start in 12 months time, or vice versa from 12 months ago, and we're the same, like where we're all getting hurt on materials. So, and then staff as well, like we just touched on ourselves, staff retention, and what are we doing to hold on to staff, with incentives and things as well. So they're probably the four main things that we're going to speak about. Look, it is just more of a general high-level discussion with four of us up on stage, and then there'll be some opportunity for the attendees to fire some questions at us.
Yeah, I think it's great, because I think it's one of the first like in-person sort of industry meetings that there's been since COVID. So. That's
right. Yeah, it has been a long time between drinks. So yeah, Ian Parker's on the board, and he called me up and said, "Do you want to get involved?" I think that it's good to get a bit more diversity across the panel with, a couple of older guys, a couple of younger guys like myself. I'm 35, but compared to, some of the older guys that normally get up there. So just to get a bit of a different look at it from some different heads and some new heads. So yeah, look, it'll be good. As I said, not something that I normally do, and be a little bit out of my comfort zone, but yeah, happy to be a part of it.
Well, so far, judging from this, you'll go fine, I think.
I hope so.
So have you got any apps that you use to help tracking on site and that sort of thing?
Look, to be honest, we don't. We did give Crew Tracker a run for a bit, and we had another app called, I can't remember the name of it now. Anyway, but look, it did sort of fall apart. We probably are, maybe a little bit old school in that front, I think. Whatever works for you guys. We only just recently went to that third crew as well. So before that, we were just sort of running the two teams as a bit more manageable. Now as the team is getting bigger, we definitely need to look into it more. We might go back to potentially something like the Crew Tracker or something along those lines. So I know a lot of teams do use it, but it's something we're looking into. What about you? Do you guys use that at all? Or?
No, I just use I do a spreadsheet. Yeah, and it just has material in one column, supplier, cost, and date, and I just fill it out at the end of each day. I just with a pen.
Yeah.
So that's But do you keep track of the jobs, like the material,
like individual jobs?
Yeah.
Oh, look. So we do use Build Exact for all our quoting. So that lays out like everything in there, and we've got a spreadsheet where we cross-reference with that. So like in that aspect we do, but it's not an all-in-one sort of program. But the Build Exact, I don't know if you use that at all or not, but that's a really great program. We do all our quoting with that. Like you sort of set it up originally. You put all your data in there, so all your square meterage, linear meterage rates, all your material costs. When you do have to keep updating it, but so does everyone with materials at the moment. So it's basically just a point and click sort of thing where you click and drag, and it gives a square meterage of paving. So you've got your paving rate already in there. You can pick your crazy paving, your large format, Filletti, or whatever it might is. We've got all those rates already put in there, and then it spits out your quote, spits out your price. So that's really good with knowing what we've sort of allowed for, and then you put your individual specialist items in there as well. So we do have that, which is basically our reference point, and then we can put that into a spreadsheet to see how it sort of fared out with actual costs on site.
So does that have something like the description of what you're doing? Like if you were laying Filletti paving, it says supply and install of Filletti paving on a steel reinforced slab and that kind of stuff.
That's right. It's exactly.
So that just already pre-populated, is it?
Yeah, it's already pre-populated.
Yeah, cool.
So as I said, you got to spend about 2 days putting the data in there to build it, and then once it's all in there, you can always just add recipes to it, and you just got to constantly update the pricing. And then once you've got it all in there, and then once you start when you're building jobs, you go, oh, actually, there's a specialist thing that we're doing a bit more of now, like a stainless steel slot drain. Like now I know what that costs us per linear meter and install, so I've got a rate for that now. So you just keep adding to it until quotes really don't take me that long to spit out. It's waiting for the specialists like the steel fabricator and the other concreters that when you're getting their prices back, that takes the time really. I can build a $200,000 quote in 4 hours really on that. Like it spits it out pretty quick. It's just waiting for all the other costs to come in. So,
Yeah.
and that's what we're finding we're doing these days, where, because on that program, it does give you just a line item pricing and a cover letter. So it's not the prettiest thing in the world, but we're finding that we spit them out reasonably quickly and go, look, this is sort of an overall figure of what the project's going to look like. If you're happy with that, if they are happy with that, then we'll go to our full written detailed quote, where that's laid out with a lot more graphics, and that's a nice formal written quote. But the build exact thing, we can get that out reasonably quickly. It gives them a price, because early on in the pricing stage, all they want to see is what that bottom line is anyway. Like, they're not interested in the nuts and bolts just yet. They want to know, all right, what are we looking at here? And if it's within the ballpark, we go, okay, well, it is. Then we're happy to go with you, Jayden. Let's go to the next stage, and then we do our formal written quote, and then we get down to the nuts and bolts. Yeah,
that makes sense, because like the amount of times people say, I've got no idea what it's going to cost, and when they'll ask me, I say, I've got no idea either, because it depends on so many different things. So,
that's right.
That's it. It's a good idea. My quote's just a Microsoft Word document that I print on a letterhead. So
okay,
and I type it out every single. There's some stuff that's pre-populated. But I type out every detail of what we're doing. So I probably should do something like that. But I reckon, coincidentally, an hour ago, I unsubscribed from a build exact email that I got, because I just get them so many times.
Really? Yeah,
so I might go back into that one. And
well, look, we've been using it for a couple of years now, and it just changed the way that we quoted, like it, because I don't need plans anymore as well. So like I used to have piles and piles of hard copy plans, but I don't need them anymore. It's silly just getting plans printed out all the time just to do a quote, get your scale ruler out. So everything's just done on screen. You scale it up from the first initial data entry. You get a reference point, scale that, and then everything's just click and drag and point. So we don't keep plans anymore. Like we'll keep one plan on site, but all the boys have iPads. It's all on there. So we try not to print. I don't need to print anything really, except for the one plan we have on site, which we have laminated and stuck up on the fence. So
you just click, like if you've got a square paving area or you have a curved paving area, you just click the boundary of it and it works out.
That's right. Yeah, you just click and it just highlights that area, and then it tells you exactly 36.7 square meters. At your crazy paving rate, that's your price for that, and it's taken into account what your rate is with concrete and everything in there. So, as I said, you just keep adding all these different prices of square meter rates, and then you got opportunities to put your margin on top of that. You can put whatever margin, obviously, and then you play with the figures from there. So it gives you your base rate for everything, but then the site might be on a really steep incline down some stairs and that. So there's an extra 20% in time to get that job done. So you can really play around with your percentages a lot more from there. But as I said, if it just builds the quote so much quicker, and it's accurate with the if you got the scale right, you got to make sure you get that right, like you're doing any quoting anyway. But if that's in there, then it does speed. It just changed the way that we quoted, and it just gives me a bit more time to get them out and churn through more and keep those quoting timeframes down. We try to keep them to a couple of weeks if we can, but it just depends on external contractors getting pricing back to me, really.
Yeah. Have you had any issues where you guys have sort of done too much and not doing enough subcontracting? Or like something I do too much is I like to do everything that within landscaping.
Oh yeah.
I should be getting other people to come in and do stuff, because they're quicker and better, and then I can concentrate on other things.
Yeah. Look, we're pretty similar. We do a lot of it ourselves as well, where we could be getting more trades in. I know a lot of guys are subcontracting out a lot more work and taking on more work these days, where they might have 7 or 8 live, 10 live projects, and they're just subbing out bits and pieces where they can. It definitely has its pros and cons. Yes, you can be billing for more and getting more in, but then there's the logistics side of it and quality control, time management, which is what's hard. And like we're saying with staff these days, finding guys to do the job is hard. When you got that many jobs, and you might only have one good fabricator, but you might need him across 4 jobs as well. And so look, we do a lot ourselves, but we are subbing out a few things. Like we might we sub out our glass fences and exposed ag concrete, I guess. But look, a lot of the other stuff that we do and all steel fabrication, we try to do the basic stuff like gate frames and and fences and that, but pergolas and that we leave it to the specialist. But
Yep.
we probably could sub out a bit more, like you were saying as well. But yeah, it's judged on a job by job basis, really.
Yeah. Like I say, it's hard to get. Like, you've got to organise them to be there at the exact time that you want them, so everything else flows on as well. So it's
and then
easier.
if something comes up on their end and they go, oh shit, I can't make Tuesday, can we push to Friday? It just throws everything out straight away, doesn't it? Like, I'm not saying it's not impossible, obviously, but it just makes time management and logistics and your schedules. Like we build construction schedules all the time, but they go out the window so quickly. Like, you're constantly updating, switching, flicking them around, revising it. Which I reckon the construction schedules are great. You get them in there so approximately what that time frame is going to be. But week by week, they just chop and change so much. Like you basically do it about 4 or 5 different times. So
I've stopped.
And that's with us managing most of the project. You throw more subbies in there, and then it's why you see builders running around like crazy men all the time, because there's so many people that come into it that can it only has to be off by a couple of days, and it turns into shit. But you got to adapt and adjust accordingly.
Yep. Now, you mentioned Filletti before. I saw you do a fair bit of Filletti and cobbles and all the harder styles of paving. Yep. Is that because you love doing it, or just the designs that come through?
I don't know how much we love it. It's funny. Like, people do ask us a bit about this, but it's just what's popped up on what's being given to us. It's not like I'm saying, hey, we'll lay a Filletti, but look, I guess it is enjoyable. It's slow. Like, as you probably know, we did a big driveway down in Mount Eliza. It was about 400 squares, and you can only get down per man, you get about 2 square meters down a day, 2.5, I reckon, depending on how fat you go your lines. We keep them pretty tight. I think it looks a lot better, but it just sort of seems to keep popping up. We do a lot of work with Ben Scott, and he puts it into a lot of jobs, but I mean, a lot of designers do now anyway. But I think it's definitely on trend in Melbourne at the moment. But it's slow, and you do need to know what you're doing. It's pretty quick to go out, off on a different plane if you're not, because if you go any faster than that, you're not going to be laying it right. Like, it's the only way you can do it. Like, you're laying 200 mil strips of stone on a large surface. You've got to get your mud right. Like, there's a lot of things that need to be done right. Otherwise, it can go out, pretty quickly. And just keeping lines semi-parallel as well. Like, it's not supposed to be dead straight, obviously, but when they're like, when we first did it, like, we just sort of laid them freehand, and like it did look like a dog's breakfast. Like, you do have to have some structure and some process about it, even though when it's down it looks like a complete random pattern, but there is a bit of structure to it, definitely.
And I saw one you did where there's a circular cobble section inside, and then there's another circular Filletti section inside of that. Did that take a fair while to get that?
It did, yeah. That's the one in Mount Eliza. That's in that big driveway that we did. Yeah, it's in that 400 squares. Yeah, there was a bit of math to it as well with the cobble pieces, like, because every ring keeps getting smaller and smaller. So there is a bit of math to working out how much to cut off each piece. But so it did take some time. We were scratching our heads for a little while on it, but I think it came up pretty great in the end. Yeah.
So are all those cobbles cut, are they?
Yeah, I went probably the first 4 rows, I reckon, weren't. But then after that, you got to cut each one. Yeah, because the gap started getting too fat. So to keep that 5 mil, you got to cut them off both sides of the cobble to keep that evenness. So yeah, there was a lot of cutting there.
That's crazy. It looks so amazing as well.
Yeah,
it's like a piece of art.
Yeah, that's right. That's the client actually said that on not on that bid, but on the rest of the driveway when we saw us getting stuck into it. He goes, "Geez, it's like a work of art, isn't it?" It's nice to hear that. But that's obviously the biggest application we've done before. I don't know how many times that would have been done in Australia with 400 squares of Filletti. It was pretty painful, and that was during the time of COVID as well. When we first started doing it, we were chipping away at a couple of guys down there on a weekend doing a bit, but we tried to break it up a bit. Like, we did sections at a time, and then with pure access to the job, we poured, like, the second half of the driveway wasn't poured till a bit later, so it did break it up a bit. because it can get pretty monotonous. But at the same time, though, the guys do like it a bit because they go to work, they go, all right, we know what we're doing today. We're just laying Filletti. Like it's, once you've got your systems and your processes nutted out, it's like everyone knows what they're doing, and then they can just sort of go to work and don't have to think about it too much. But that takes a bit of time to get to that point, obviously. But yeah, it was pretty incredible, and we were very fortunate to be a part of that project.
So was that one? Did you have to quote that? Did you quote that?
We
size?
did. Yep.
Yeah, right.
Yep, we did. So yeah, we did quote it again, just back to our rate. We did do it a little bit sharper on that one because it's such a big application. We weren't supplying the concrete that on a couple of the items there, but and it's hard to gauge how we went with that one because it was spread out over so long because of COVID. So like we got into a bit, then we had to stop, and it ended up being bits and pieces here and there. And there was the client even shut the job down for 3 months because of COVID at that point as well. So that job was spread out over 2 years in the end. So it was, we at the start we're trying to track how we're going with it, but then it just went out the window. It was just too inconsistent over a period of time. But so look, I think it was quoted okay. Probably could have been a bit more on it, but we always say that anyway.
If you're still going, couldn't have got too bad because that you could sort of do your nuts on a job that size.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And it's luckily we didn't really have to supply much material. As I said, the builder supplied the stone. The client was paying for the concrete as well. So it was just purely labour and a bit of sand and cement. But look, it pretty much, like we did do some figures on it, and it did work out to about what we thought. But again, it was just spread out over so much time. It's hard to see exactly where you landed. Yeah.
I had someone message me wanting to know. He was asking what Mortar Mix I use, what the ratio is, and he was keen to know what other people use. So what do you use? Is it the same for Filletti as what you do for normal paving?
Yeah, basically. So Filletti, we do 3 washed, 1 brick, and 1 cement. Paving, I think we do 3 and 2. 3 washed and 2 bricks. So the Filletti was a bit stronger, but we do make it a bit drier though. So it's not, you can't have super wet mud with Filletti because as soon as you start knocking them down, or you can see all the mud comes up in between their grout lines, end up souping around, floating around. So you do have to make it a bit drier. But we use a product called Cement-Aid Weldcrete as well. So we paste a slab with that with a bit of slurry. Like everyone's got their own sort of similar scenarios and ratios, but yeah, the 3 and 1 is 3, 1 and 1 is what we do for Filletti. Yeah.
And you put that Cement-Aid on the back of the stone as well?
Not on Filletti. You'd be there twice as long doing it on every single piece, but yeah, just on the slab for that. And we do a bit of Cement-Aid through the mortar mix as well. Yeah, do about half a cup of that. So that Cement-Aid is really great but all our paving, like apart from Filletti and crazy paving with inconsistent thicknesses, we lay on glue. So we'll tile everything. So we'll either get our concreter to screed it up to height, like to say 24, 25 mil down if we're using 20 mil stone, or if there's a lot of tricky falls on that, we'll pour a slab, we'll do a dry screed, let that go off, and then we'll glue to that. So we've found that gluing is definitely a little bit slower, but there's just never any issues with that bonding. We know once it's glued down, it's not going anywhere. So we moved to glue installation about 2 years ago, I think now, and we don't really lay much on mortar anymore, unless it's like a crazy pave or something like that where it's inconsistent thicknesses. Yeah.
So is it slower just because of having to do screeds, or?
Yeah, if you're doing the screed, it slows things down. But as I said, we try to get, if we've got an area where we can just get it bang on, we'll screed it ourselves to height, or we'll get our concreter in, set it to 27 mil down, and then we'll just glue straight to that, and then you can get 20 squares down a day in gluing. I think we used to get about 22 or 23 or something with paving, depending on how many guys you have on site. But yeah, just found, like, it's just for my peace of mind too, gluing, like, especially and on the larger format when you're doing 1x5s, like, you need to be gluing them down. There's just too much surface area for mortar to bond to that properly. What we've found, and as I said, I'm sure guys have got other ways of getting around it, but that's just how we approach it.
Have you got a favourite stone?
Oh, I don't know actually. I mean, limestone's pretty pretty on trend these days, isn't it? So the Wyndham and Shelford range from Eco is really nice. I really like the natural tones in that. Like, it's when you've laid it, it looks like it's always been there for a really long time, which is what I really like. So yeah, I wouldn't say it's an out and out favourite, but they'd be up there. Yeah.
What have you used at your place?
I've got Filletti at mine. I live in Brunswick East. I've got a tiny little courtyard, and I did lay Filletti there. So it's about 12 square metres of it. And I've got an old Victorian house, so the front is a bit more traditional. I've got some bluestone pavers on the front, and then out the back it's a bit more contemporary. So I went with the Filletti out there. Yeah.
Now, did you lay all the Filletti yourself?
I did another one. Yeah. And that, as I said, it was in the lockdown time, so I still laid it, but I did manage to get one of the guys to help me from our company.
Yeah. I'm doing building at the moment. Going to be doing a driveway using some herringbone pavers. Doing the Andorra in herringbone.
Yeah, Andora's nice stone.
And I'll be laying all that myself as well. Hopefully, this is the last house I built. So
yeah, right. Yeah.
Otherwise, if you see something that's not quite right, just be looking at it every day.
Yeah, that's it. Definitely. Yeah, you need to do it, don't you? Yeah.
So what's coming up in the future for Greener Visions? Any changes to the way you're doing things now?
Look, not really. We are sort of, reasonably comfortable, I guess, at the moment with how the crews are set up. I'm not interested in getting any bigger. I think we're big enough. I think that 3 teams is a good mix for profitability and to share the workload, to be able to take on the workload, because, as you know, sure you're saying, getting so many inquiries all the time, and everyone's lead times are so far out. So we made the choice to put the 3rd crew on at the start of this year, just to be able to sort of keep up with the work that's coming in and to be able to service people that we'd like to. But yeah, we're not going to get any bigger than that though. So we're pretty happy with how things are going at the moment. But your business setup it's an evolving beast, isn't it? Like, what's good now might change again in 12 months, 6 months, 3 months time. So I guess you need to keep evolving and adapting, and then just keep refining as well. So we're about to embark on some business coaching as well. So just to keep things fresh and clean. So with all 3 of us, all 3 of the partners, we're always constantly looking for new ways to tweak systems and processes.
So you're looking to do some business coaching, or
no? We're looking at putting a business coach on to sort of help us in a few areas. So we will be doing that shortly. But it's something that you might get a little bit out of, or you might get nothing. You might pick up a few things. So always interested in trying to find new ways to improve. Obviously, like everyone. Yeah,
can't hurt. What about, have you considered pool building at all?
Yeah, I get asked that a bit. Look, we have, and then at the same time said, well, it's the same with the design. Like, if we take on design and we take on pool building, which would be great, but then all of a sudden you're competing against everyone. And so where we get all our work from at the moment is from landscape architects and pool builders alike as well. So you start doing that, then you're competitors now. So then I would imagine that we'd probably lose a lot of work at the same time, and then it's going to take you that time to build up and to get your own design and pool building projects, which is what everyone does. But look, at the moment, we don't have the license or anything for it. So I think it's something that we may look at, but it's not something that's high up on the list.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Like, people always assume that you have to keep building your business bigger and bigger. Yeah, but it's actually not bad things. You just keep doing what you're doing and be really good at it and be profitable.
That's right. I think just keep refining it, keep tweaking it, and finding new ways to get more efficient and profitable. I think that's what we're sort of trying to focus on, as like you're saying, with design and pools. We haven't really gone down that path. We just really want to try and hone in on what we do and do it well, and then get it set up, hopefully, so for one day it'll be running itself, and then we can sort of take a step back. That's the ultimate goal.
Yeah. All right, Jayden, thank you very much for your time today. It's been, absolutely loved it being a landscape builder, so I'm sure plenty of other people will. But can't thank you enough for coming on.
No, I appreciate it, mate. Thanks for having me.